God has a perfect will and a permitted will. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part 3 of our 5-part series. This is part number 3 of our 5-part series, looking at God's perfect will, his ideal, and his remedial will. There are certain aspects to God's will that we want to understand from this study that really, again, build on the foundation of the power of his love and the power of our choice. So before we get started, thank you for watching. We really appreciate you. Just take like 5 seconds, hit the share button and share this with somebody else. And we'd love to have you subscribe to the channel too. Then you can go visit the website as well, changeministry.org. You're going to see this study and many, many more. In fact, there are a lot of recipes too. If you like to cook, like to eat well, how about a plant-based diet? And then we love to come to where you are, whether it's for a weekend, for a week series, even just for a day. But it starts with your choice. And you can get that going by email to us at contact@changeministry.org. There are certain elements to God's will that we want to understand that speak again to the fact that he's a loving God and he's a good God. He's so good that he lets us choose. He has a way that he knows exactly what he wants to do, but he knows we don't. And he leaves it to us to choose which path to follow. See in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 9, having made known to us the mystery of his will. So there we see God has a will. According to his good pleasure, which he hath purposed in himself. Now this is his perfect will, because it's what pleases him, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times, he might gather together in one all things in Christ, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him. God has a purpose. The purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. So all these verses are saying is God has a perfect will. God has a will that pleases him. God has a purpose. God even has his own will. So of all the things that could be done, there is a way that God desires for things to be done. Not just in his church, not just in his schools, but even in this world. And guess what? Even in your house. So now, when we go to Genesis 19, here we're going to see evidence that while God has a perfect will, he allows us to exist within his permitted will. It came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot, now we get a clue to who we're talking about, said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Now we're in Genesis chapter 19, after Sodom and Gomorrah has been destroyed. Lot, his wife, and his daughters had been delivered, and they were taken out of the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were given an opportunity to go to a place of deliverance. Now they're clearly told to go escape to a mountain, and that's where they're going to live. That's where they'll find refuge. But Lot said, no, I don't want to do that. So a perfect will is revealed, but here we're going to see God's permitted will. So now in verse 20 of chapter 19, behold now, this is Lot speaking, this city is near to flee unto, and is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? So now Lot proposes something that aligns with his will. God already said, go to the mountain. But what does the Lord say? And he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. So now ultimately God has decided to let Lot go to this little city. That was his permitted will, his remedial will. But he had a plan in mind, and that was that he go to the mountains. But this story is showing us that God has a plan for us, but he gives us the opportunity to make choices, but we have to live with those choices. Remember, his daughters go on to have this crazy idea that because they don't have a husband, that they're not going to have a family, and they didn't want to be barren. And so they ended up bearing children from their father. And then in the course of bearing these children eventually grow up. They go on to become the people who are actually the enemies of the Israelites. God's idea for us is still up to us to choose. And we got to recognize that while we have the freedom to go in the way that we want to go, remember, there are consequences to our choices. So why not make a commitment to pursue God's perfect will with all of our mind, with all of our body, and with all of our soul?